So recently, and when I mean recently, I mean just a few games ago, this is a new narrative that has started and developed. It is that Devin Booker should be the MVP. And while I do think he should have been MVP conversations a lot earlier than, 70 some odd games, or almost 70 some odd games into the season, it's just not happening. Now, this happened with DeMar, happened with Ja a few weeks ago. He got injured, and being that his team is winning without him, yeah, his MVP value is going down a bit. And the main issue when it comes to these MVP conversations, because honestly, I don't even know. Because I thought it used to be you got to be like, top 5 player, top 5 seed. I would still think that's going to be true most years. But Devin Booker should honestly got more MVP conversation earlier. Now, one reason why I don't think he has gotten it is because Chris Paul has gotten, the majority of the credit for the Suns being good these past 2 years. Like his leadership, whoop de whoop whoop. Even though if you was watching the Suns in the bubble where they went 8-0, they really turned the corner, and they came out next year and was really good. It's whatever. Like all the credit's going to Chris Paul for that, and I get it. He's a great point guard. He's a great leader. But I just think it's weird how he's getting the majority of the credit and not the other guys around on the Suns, like Ayton, like Booker, like Cam Johnson, etc., etc. Jay Crowder, even though he's annoying. But yeah, that's the issue. It's because the media deemed that Chris Paul was more valuable compared to Devin Booker, and that's why Devin Booker is, it's taking 70 some odd games for him to be in MVP talks. He should have been in earlier when the Suns have been a good team all year. Like these talks should have started when the Suns like on that 10 then 15 game winning streak, but they never did. And now it looks like it's going to go to either Joel Embiid or Jokic. If I had to pick, it would be Embiid, even though I feel like it should be Giannis. But Giannis, well, he's missed a couple of games recently, and he's not going to get all the minutes and whatnot. But it's going to go to either one of those guys. I don't think it should go to Jokic again. I mean, he played good enough to win it last year, but his team this year is like a 6 seed. And I just thought, generally it has to be, a top 4 seed, and you got to be, a top 4, not top 4, a top 5 player to win it. But if they give it to Jokic again, I mean, yeah, he's a top 5 player, but he doesn't have that top 4 seed. Like, I don't know. I think that's the main issue. That it hasn't been on who was the best player, because if it was the best player, then LeBron would have a lot more, Jordan would have a lot more. But they go on narratives and whatnot. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And this is coming off Devin Booker having a 49-point game. So while he was great last night against Denver Nuggets in like a 140 to 130 victory, and that's a lot of points on both teams. While he was great last night, no, I don't think he's MVP. And the main reason why I don't see him as MVP because he's just not seen as a top 5 player around the league, and he isn't. And he doesn't have to be a top 5 player to be worthy of the award. I mean, he hasn't missed many games. The Suns have been great when he's played, and yeah, I mean, that record speaks for himself. His numbers speak for themselves. So, and they are MVP caliber numbers. Like, if he was on a different team averaging the same numbers, he would be more MVP conversations. But I honestly think the reason why he's not getting seen as an MVP candidate is because he's just not seen as a top 5 player. I think that's more important when it comes to, the voting in the awards. You got to be seen as a top 5 player. So, I don't know, man. I mean, if it was me, it would still be going to, Giannis or Embiid. While Jokic has been great this year, I'm not going to care about him winning it this year as a 6 seed. I mean, did that last year essentially, and I can get it last year because Jamal Murray went down. But being that he hasn't had him for all year, no one's going to care about him doing it again. About him willing this team to victories to the 6 seed again. They're not going to care. I don't blame them not caring. It's going to go to Joel Embiid because the narrative when it came to Joel Embiid last year is, well, he would have won if he didn't miss so many games. Now, while that may be true, he missed those games, and that's why I went to Jokic. Giannis, even though I think he's been the best player in basketball, he's not going to get it because of voter fatigue, and that's hampered other players from getting more MVPs, like LeBron, like Jordan. So, yeah, I can see why they're like, well, we don't want to give Giannis his third MVP within 4 years. I mean, he has 2 already. He has a Defensive Player of the Year. He has a Finals MVP. I thought the Finals MVP would be enough for him to overcome that voter fatigue. I was wrong, and we will just have to wait and see next year. Like, I think it goes to Joel Embiid off narrative this year. I mean, he's played great. I mean, he's missed some games. Not too many, though, to disqualify him from being an MVP. Why? That team have been great with him on and off. He definitely has missed too many games. And the main issue is, though, his team has been really good without him. And they're like, well, is he really that valuable if his team's still winning games? Which, yes, he is, because would you rather play the Memphis Grizzlies with Ja Morant or without him? You'd rather play Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant in, a 7-game series. But being that they've been good and they won, they're like, well, he's not that valuable, which is kind of weird. But I can see why. So if you ask me how it goes next year, I think Devin Booker have a better chance because the narrative, would have gotten rolling. Because, it started at the end of this year. It'll carry on into next year. And the Suns, are still good, which I believe they will be. Even though it could get hairy when it comes to, that Ayton extension. Because, they already paid Bridges. They already paid Booker. And it could get hairy when it comes to some of these other role players. But I still think they'll be, a really good team next year, 55 wins at least. With the Suns playing good basketball for like a third year in a row, Devin Booker will be more involved in the conversation earlier, which will be fine. I think the same thing will happen for Luka. Maybe Tatum. The main issue that's going to happen with Tatum right now is if Jaylen Brown's playing good and the Celtics are playing good, and he's having an MVP caliber season, like, well, you have another good player with you, and that's going to kind of diminish his MVP case. I can already see it happening now. Which will lead us to the best candidates for the MVP next year. Most likely, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic. It won't be Tatum because Jaylen Brown playing well will hurt his case of an MVP caliber season. And the main issue when it comes to Luka Doncic is he'll have to come in the season, in shape and playing good earlier because it takes him a bit too long to get it going, and that's going to hurt his case because it'll be like, well, it's on all 82 games, regular season award, yada, yada, yada. And Donovan Mitchell last year was considered for the MVP, or, years prior, and he had, good enough numbers. Not the best, but good enough numbers, a lot of wins. And that's honest because he wasn't seen as a top 5 player either. He isn't a top 5 player. But that's what I think about the MVP conversations. No, Devin Booker is not going to win the award. If they wanted him to win the award, the media should have got on this narrative a lot earlier than they did in the season. They waited to like 70 games to do so. I think it goes to Joel Embiid based off the narrative right now. But without the way, y'all stay safe, and I'm out.